Anytime you drive 5,000 miles over the course of 4 weeks, you better hope to add some big things to your collection. And I did. But I also added some small things today on the 78 RPM channel. Hello, and welcome to the 78 RPM channel. Whether you're new to 78s or an advanced collector, this is your source for information, research, and music about 78 RPM records, cylinders, and radio transcriptions. Hey gang, welcome to the 78 RPM channel. 4 weeks ago I posted my last video. That was the day before I took off on what was basically a 5,000 mile, 4-week road trip in which I visited 13 states and picked up a lot of cool stuff. Now, in addition to all the big stuff I picked up, I also picked up some small things. This is a 3.5-inch Imperial record. These guys were produced in about 1932 by the Crystalate company. Now, Crystalate is both the name of the company and the name of the material that these records were produced from. The material was originally used to produce billiard balls, but I guess they figured out it would make pretty good records. Now, up until I started doing research for this video, I didn't realize these weren't shellac. And so just for the remainder of this video, I'm just going to call them shellac, and you can make fun of me in the comments. As best I can tell, these little guys appeared on 5 different labels. The first of which was an Imperial label in blue and gold. Now, I actually don't have a copy of that. The second one, I think, was probably this one. It's the Imperial label, a miniature version, on the purple and buff purple label. The next one was on the Robialac label, which I do not have a copy of. I do, however, have a copy of the one issue that appeared on the Rex label. This one is by organist Reginald Dixon. If you collect dance band music or jazz from the 1930s, one of the things you're quickly going to realize about these little records is that the music on them is not particularly compelling. We have a bell solo, we have an organ solo, we have a military band, we have some light classical. Nothing that's really going to jump out. However, you'll also notice I told you that there were 5 different labels that this appeared on, and I only gave you 4 of them. That's because there was one more, and it is a little more interesting. This is the 5th one, and it's the one that's most compelling to most 78 RPM record collectors because it's a dance band. Around March of 1932, Jack Payne made his way into the studio. Firstly, to record some music for Imperial, and second, to let everyone know he had signed an exclusive contract with Imperial Records. Someone apparently thought that the best way to do that was to release one of these little miniature guys, and on the record he mentions he has signed an exclusive contract with Imperial and would be releasing records on that label. And if you look at the back of the sleeve that comes with this record, you will see that he points out that this record, Say It With Music, was available on a full 10-inch size disc for 1/3, as I believe they call it. For those of you who are American, that is 1 shilling and 3 pence, or 1 shilling and threepence, or 1 and 3, however you say it. The good news is that since the public domain restrictions in the UK are a little bit less restrictive than they are in the US, I can play both sides of this without having to worry about a copyright strike. So you are going to get to listen to both sides, albeit short sides, of this record.
Hello everybody, this is Jack Payne speaking. I've signed an exclusive world contract to record my band only on Imperial, and I feel sure that our combined efforts will result in our making some marvelous records, for which of course there will be no increase in price. Imperial records are on sale at gramophone record shops everywhere and at all branches of Marks and Spencer. Now if you turn this record over, you'll hear something else which may interest you. This is Jack Payne speaking. My boys are going to play to you now the tune by which my band is known all over the world. Are you ready, boys?
Yes, Jack.
All right, let's go.
You may be asking yourself, are these the smallest 78 RPM records? Actually, they are not. This little flexible guy right here on the durium label is actually a 1/4 inch smaller. However, if you want the smallest 78 RPM discs, you probably had to be royalty. Queen Mary had special discs made for her private dollhouse phonograph, and they worked. Her fully functional little dollhouse Victrola had 6 functional phonograph records that are just around 1 inch in diameter. But what set these records apart is that they did actually play music. Now, one of the discs, which contained God Save the King, was actually made available to people who visited Windsor Castle, and some of those have made their way into the hobby. The pictures you're seeing are me holding one of these tiny little discs and actually me playing one of these little discs. Unfortunately, that's not my disc, and so someone out there, help me out. I'm looking for a copy of one of the teeny tiny Queen Mary dollhouse records. Let me know in the comments if you have one. So while these little Imperial records are bigger than the Queen's dollhouse records, they do have something unique going for them. As far as I know, these are the smallest 78 RPM shellac records that have a standard size spindle hole that will play on a regular phonograph. The Queen Mary records will not, because they're proportional, and therefore not only has the record been shrunk down, but the spindle hole was shrunk down as well. You can't fit that on a normal turntable. With these, you can. And unlike these durium records, this is actually made of shellac. Having said all that, even if they're not the smallest playable shellac 78s, they're still really cool, and they are a really nifty, small addition to my collection. I need to send a huge thank you out to Scott Holtis of the Vintage Music Company in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This little guy here, including the nice little sleeve, came from him. Now, I believe he has 1 or 2 of these remaining in stock. So if you want one, although I don't think he has the sleeve for those copies, give him a call. They're not super expensive. I think they're like 25 or 30 bucks, and they're a really cool addition to a record collection. Over the course of the last 4 weeks, I have picked up a ton of things that deserve their own videos, so I'll be getting to those in the next few weeks. Keep your eyes open here on the 78 RPM channel. We'll see you next time.